Shalom, Chantani, and welcome to another episode of the Godfather Minute. Part 2. With me, Alex Robinson.
Alex Robinson.
Part 2.
Minute. Alex, repeat after me.
E minuto.
E minuto. I gotcha. Whoa.
Sentanza sera. Should we just start over?
No, give it to me. Well, come on, 64. You can do it.
Anyway, this is Godfather Minute number 64.
Godfather Part 2 minutes.
Let's start over.
Damn,
Shalom, Chantani, and welcome to another episode of the Godfather Part 2 minutes, starring me, Alex Robinson.
And starring me, Andy Robinson.
And together we're talking about minute number
Godfather
64.
Brothers. Alex, repeat after me. E minuto.
E minuto. Numero.
64.
64.
You got it.
That means 64.
It would still mean 64 if my father was still alive.
Which coincidentally is the same minute we're talking about today.
Yes.
In minute number 64 of The Godfather Part 2, our friend in Miami gets nostalgic about baseball and health. When Mikey stands and closes the doors. As if on cue, the retired investor turns up the volume of the TV. With the newscaster blaring, Corleone confides that there will be blood.
Michael, there will be blood.
So,
I love it.
The first thing we learned, last week we learned that Hyman Roth likes baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And now
football.
this minute we learn when he started liking baseball.
That's right, yeah.
And this is 1958, and we learned that 1919, when Arnold Rothstein fixed the World Series, that is when Hyman Roth cites his baseball fandom as starting.
Now, in 1958, is that common knowledge that World Series was fixed? Or is this an inside joke between he and another mob boss? They both have a good laugh at it.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
It was well known because when it happened in 1919, there was immediate investigations and stuff into it. So, my question was, is Hyman Roth speaking like this is just common knowledge and he believes it to be true because it's what everyone knows, or does he have firsthand information that Arnold Rothstein actually did fix the World Series?
That's right, yeah, because he was around then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arnold Rothstein.
Real
life gangster. Mm-hmm. This is where I guess this is one of the few times where a real life person, where a real life criminal gangster is mentioned.
Yeah.
Actually,
right.
Not even real life. I mean, who else we hear? Tony Bennett. We hear, Ingrid Bergman.
Yeah. Joey Zaza.
Well, he's not a real person.
Oh,
though.
says who? Says that stone.
Joey Zaza will never be a person in this town. Are there any other people mentioned?
Good question. I'm thinking of GF1. No, they just refer to vague senators, governors, even the president. They don't mention anyone's name. No.
Yeah.
Oh, Hitler.
That's true. One of the rare people mentioned. So, yeah.
Oh, that would be a great Jeopardy answer.
Who is?
It would be Hitler, Ingrid Bergman, and Tony Bennett.
And Arnold Rothstein.
Who are the real life people.
What do all those people have in common? They're all real life people who are mentioned in the Godfather movies. But Arnold the Brain Rothstein. Mm-hmm. I did some research into him, and very fascinating character.
Tell us more.
Worthy of his own story, I think. Well, he was a New York gangster, a crime boss. Unlike many other, like Vito Corleone and presumably Hyman Roth, He was born into a stable middle class home.
Oh wow!
And it sounds like he was really good at math, and was just bored with everything else. Like he was just almost not like a sociopath, but he just didn't care about anything other than he started gambling when he was a little kid, and he loved being able to use, he was really good at math and gambling.
Yeah.
So from the time he was a kid, he was just gambling all the time, and his father was, and he was I don't know if maybe part of me was my father said not to gamble, so I would go gamble on purpose and so on. But
a lot of money in those stats and probabilities.
So once you get into that world, of course, that's when he started running gambling operations and numbers things and stuff like that, including 1919, the World Series. That's the famous Black Sox scandal where some players on the Chicago White Sox took money from gangsters to throw the game. Very clumsily, which is why it was investigated, because by all accounts they were really bad. It was so obvious they were throwing the game. But Rothstein always denied it. In fact, he testified in front of a grand jury and said, he's people are always using my name as a thing. They go to a player and say, listen, Arnold Rothstein is fixing the World Series, so we're going to pay you this. And then they go along with it, even though he's I would never, I would never have done that. And as soon as I knew that it was being fixed, I didn't bet on the game at all on the World Series.
So are you buying it? Of course, he's not going to admit it when testifying, right?
Right. But there are also conflicting stories from other gangsters who said, oh, yes, he was involved, and other people who said he wasn't involved.
Oh.
So there's no real definite answer about it. Obviously,
wow. So unresolved.
Unresolved. I mean, it seems like he probably did it. But you said, a lot of other gangsters would use his name and trade on it to sort of foster
Well, maybe that's why Hyman Roth and Mikey get a big laugh out of it. Hyman Roth says, ever since Arnold Rothstein fixed the World Series in 1990, because they both know it's not true, but yet Arnold Rothstein keeps getting blamed. It's like an inside joke among mobsters.
Oh, so there are really there are three outcomes. Either he didn't fix it and Hyman Roth believes he did. Either he fixed it and Hyman Roth knows he fixed it, or he knows that he didn't fix it.
But he's along on the gag.
But yeah, he's saying it as ironically. Yeah.
I like that one the best, by the way.
Yeah, that's
the deeper humor.
That is the best one. His nicknames were Mr. Big, the Fixer, the Man of Town, the Big Bankroll. Those were all nicknames he was known by.
Which one of those would you, if you got only one, Alex, which one would you go for?
Mr. Big, the Man Uptown, the Fixer, or the Big Bankroll?
Oh, they're all great. The Man Uptown? That's great.
I think Man Uptown I like the best.
Really? I also like Big Bankroll.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
The Big Bankroll. But that seems more about your bankroll than it is about you personally.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was the other one? It was
Mr. Big.
Yeah.
And the Fixer.
The Fixer.
Yeah, the Fixer's good too.
Yeah. The Man Uptown?
The Man Uptown.
That's great.
That's like our friend in Miami.
Yeah.
I think I go see that Man Uptown and we'll talk to...
That's when they all get together. Johnny O has to interpret. He's like, no. Our friend in Miami is meeting with the Man Uptown. What? Wait, who fixed the World Series? No, the Man Uptown told Mr. Fixer to get in touch with their friend.
In addition to his gambling, so once Prohibition became a thing, that's when he's like, we got to get into that too, because people are going to want booze, and he started getting it to other organizations. But he was also known for being a kind of moderating intra-gang disputes.
Oh, okay.
So, if you had a beef with another gang, you go to Arnold Rothstein, and he would kind of negotiate it. He would take a fee, of course, for his...
Of course, yeah. He's not a communist.
And because of that, he was able to actually go to the city and use that as leverage. Like, listen, I'm the only one who's keeping all the gangsters in line. So, you want to work with me because I'm kind of providing a valuable service. So even that's how.
Because without me, there shall not be the peace.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, that's a good position to be in.
Yeah, totally.
Wow, that's a real niche role, kind of like the Bochicchios had that real niche role in in the world of mob activity.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, yeah.
The Peacemaker. That's not a good mob nickname. The Peacemaker. Nah. I'm going with Big Bankroll.
Big Bankroll.
No, I'm going with the Man Uptown.
I like the Man Uptown.
It's a little classy.
Personally. Yeah.
There's some class to it. I always thought that Arnold... I saw maybe a couple seasons of Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah.
Is that Arnold Rothstein?
That's Arnold Rothstein is in that.
And it's funny, years ago, when I first started watching Godfather, I think I'd always thought that Hyman Roth is modeled after Arnold Rothstein.
Right.
Is that not the case?
It's not the case.
Okay, so just Rothstein, just coincidence.
Well, it's not a coincidence, as we learn in one of the deleted scenes when he's hanging out with young Vito and stuff. They like Clemenza's like, oh, we gotta give him. He's like, we gotta give him a nickname. He's calling him like Johnny Lips or something.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it when we get back to the flashback scenes in the later on in the movie. But and that's when Vito says, well, who's someone you admire? And he says, Arnold Rothstein.
Arnold Rothstein. He always had good health.
The healthiest man alive, Arnold Rothstein. And then that's when he picked the name Hyman Roth as a tribute to that. Hyman Roth is based on Meyer Lansky, who was a sort of disciple of Arnold Rothstein.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's like the next generation of gangsters. Yeah. So
maybe that's why Hyman and Michael are laughing when Hyman makes the joke about the fixed World Series.
Why?
Because they both know that Hyman Roth is named after him.
Right.
And it's Mikey's father who gave him that nickname.
Oh, so it's like a little...
It's kind of like ever since Arnold Rothstein fixed the World Series.
But so do you think this is a psychological ploy on Hyman Roth's part to evoke a memory that would bring his father, Vito, into it? Like saying, listen, your father gave me my very name. You know,
I probably
trust me.
I mean, he does that later, we see. He's like, your father. The trucks belong to your father.
Baseball, too.
Yeah. Your father too. He had a batting average of over 300 for that year.
He could flip cards like nobody's business. Flipping baseball cards. Unfortunately,
they did that. They gambled with baseball cards too. Flipping. Ever since Arnold Rothstein,
match everything.
Match. Unfortunately,
on November 4th, 1928. Arnold Rothstein was shot.
Oh.
And it took him like 2 or 3 days to die he would not tell the police who it was that shot him.
Okay.
He was saying something like, you have your business, I have my business.
That's what he said to the cops?
The cops. He said
that's great.
something like that. Like he wouldn't, he's like, that's, a totally different thing.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, they think it was most likely because of, he was in a big poker game and he wound up losing like 3.
And he didn't pay.
Yeah. Yeah, because he said, "Oh, the game was fixed. I'm not paying any of this because the game was rigged." And then he was
shot a couple days. So I read there's a very famous gambling book. Each chapter is a different story of a different gambler, famous gambler,
Kenny Rogers.
And one of them, it's a little older. I forgot the name of the book. It's fantastic. It's an older book, and one of the chapters is about Minnesota Fats.
Oh, right,
the pool player, and I think it's in that chapter that Minnesota Fats talks about that story. And he gives, because I think he was around at that time. And
1928?
And he gave, he basically told who he thought did it. And he said it was pretty common knowledge among the people who were all the gamblers in New York at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow, I just put that together. That was that same story, Arnold Rothstein.
That's something I think is, I'm a history buff. You're a history buff. I would call you a history buff.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about learning about history is like it's when like stories intersect. Like you can be a baseball fan and not know anything about true crime, but if you're a baseball history fan, then you learn about the Black Sox scandal and how it was fixed and stuff like that. Now here we are on our side coming from a totally different point of view, like the organized crime thing, and then it's intersecting with baseball. I don't know. I just think that's awesome. One of the fun things about history.
It's so great. Yeah,
you learn how everything is interconnected.
Yeah, definitely.
The other noteworthy things about Rothstein is he apparently would do like his business in public because I guess a way to be like safe.
He
Apparently
felt
he would stand on a New York corner surrounded. He had like 4 bodyguards around him, and then when people had business with him, they would he'd say, "Meet me on the corner of 49th and 7th," and then they would just talk about it, like do it in the streets. So it's weird
because it was safer.
I guess so, because he's like out in public and out in the open.
No one's going to shoot me.
Yeah, exactly.
On the corner, Times Square.
One thing you learn is that you can get to anyone.
Yeah.
So it is funny that Hyman Rothmans have been gunned down in a public airport.
Oh yeah, just like his idol.
Just like that had a consent. He had to at least take some comfort in that, like just like Arnold Rothstein.
Oh, we'll get to that in minutes.
Yeah,
I want to know what's going
years
through.
from now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I have about Arnold Rothstein. It's
awesome.
just an offhand mention, but like we said, we don't see too many real life people mentioned in GF.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad we really explored the potential inside joke angle of mentioning Arnold Rothstein.
I like the interpretation that Arnold Rothstein didn't do it, but that it's like an inside joke between.
Do you think it was? Do you think the mob, all the mobsters at the time collaborated? The whole thing was a joke. They said, okay, no matter what, tell everyone that it was Arnold Rothstein, even though it wasn't him. Just keep saying that. This will be our joke on him because he's always the peacemaker. Let's get him for once. It's just kind of like a fun thing. They weren't worried about it at all. It's not like they were trying to pin it on him. It was really just a gag, so people would be annoying him.
They just knew it would get him angry.
Yeah.
So,
although it'd be funny if he did all his business in public, wouldn't he have fixed the baseball game, the World Series in public? That's a little risky, right?
The guys come up to him in their uniforms. They're like, right before the game.
Alex, if you were a baseball player,
are you asking me? Is this to get to know who the real Alex Robinson?
Who is the real Alex Robinson?
If you were a baseball player,
I was a baseball player,
and you already decided you were going to be one of the people who threw the game.
Okay, well, I don't know why you're making this assumption about my morals.
I didn't want to say would you or would you not. I mean, I don't want to go there. How would you throw the game as a player?
Well, are you telling me my position, or am I telling you my position?
You are an outfielder.
Oh, an outfielder.
And then you bat too.
Yeah, okay.
Offense.
Well, I guess.
Okay, here we go. And the ball fly to center field.
Wait,
Robinson running toward it.
I'm catching, or am I
Robinson running toward it. Looks like he's gonna make that catch to end the game.
Yeah, I guess I just bobble it. I would catch it and then just go up and drop it.
Oh, he drops it. Robinson drops the ball.
I'm looking, it's behind me, and I don't know where the ball is.
But there's plenty of time for him to throw it because the runner tripped at
my
first.
leg starts cramping up.
Robinson's got a hamstring pull. Looks like it's slowed down. This game is anyone's. It's all like, this game is anyone's. It's all like... You're really dragging your feet on it. That's very Naked Gun. Well,
that would be funny to see a really how badly they could do it to really make it look like they were.
Okay, and you're a pitcher now.
I'm a pitcher.
Yeah.
I think I would just hit every batter. I guess the thing with a pitcher is you can't be too bad because then they'll just take you out.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you're a fielder, you don't get that many. You're probably not going to make that many errors where you're going to be taken out of the game.
That's hard.
Right.
And if you're the only one in on the fix.
Well, there was 4
I know there were a
guys.
bunch, but if you were, it would be really hard.
Yeah.
It might even be impossible because you might be removed if you made too many blunders.
If history has taught us anything,
any play can be mishandled. Any error can be made.
I guess because I'm guessing it's all spreads is what they're worried about, and I guess or maybe as a result of this, they stopped going for, you have to throw the whole game and you just have to shave some points off. Because it's easier on the consciences of the players. If you're a sportsman, I imagine. it's much tougher to be convinced to throw a game as opposed to say don't win by as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like saying you guys have to throw the game versus just don't play as good as you normally would.
Yeah, and you can only the team that's likely going to win is the team that'll fix it. Can fix it.
Yeah,
can throw it.
Because presumably, although I guess the team at the bottom could be, again, just trying to lose by more.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if they're going to lose, like, okay, you have to lose by at least 10 points. So if you're getting closer than that, you got to slow down and, you got to.
Yeah.
You got to.
I guess run. It's hard to fake running fast.
Yeah, I guess that's when you have to start doing the cramp thing. Shoelaces are untied. All sorts of.
It's like a Bugs Bunny episode. Did they ever have a Bugs Bunny playing baseball? It seems like they did. I'll have to look that up again.
It was like him versus like 20 guys. So the Gas House Gorillas.
Yeah, and I guess if you're the batter, you just swing away and strike out.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know if I've told you this. If I was the king of baseball, one of the reforms I would do is you could foul out.
Yeah,
because there's nothing worse on earth than being at a baseball game and a guy hitting like 17 fouls in a row. You're like, come on already. I don't care if you make it 10, but there should be a cap on the number of fouls you should be allowed.
Come on, let's get this game over so I can go home and watch the highlights.
Exactly.
It's the beauty of baseball. You're there.
Baseball too.
You got the beer. You got the crowd. Dun, 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 dun,
all right, you're convincing me.
Arnold Rothstein. Arnold. Hey, speaking of baseball, one more little bit about
what you got?
So I follow the Yankees, as you should too. You're from the Bronx.
I don't follow the football game. The baseball game.
I don't know if you heard the Yankees fans were terrible at a
surprise
in the right field bleachers where you remember we used to go to bleachers all the
bleacher
time.
bumps.
Even in the new stadium, they're all misbehaved there. Yeah. Well, they started throwing trash at one of the Cleveland outfielders, and the outfielder got really pissed off and ran over and kind of scaled the wall and just started with one fan going face to face shouting at each other. But he ran up. He scaled the wall.
Like Spider-Man.
And he didn't jump over. Well, that's why I brought up the next day the fans were calling him Spider-Man because they had another game with them. They were like, it was probably like Spider-Man or like
let's go Spidey, let's go Spidey. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Speaking of Arnold Rothstein,
yes,
and Hyman Roth, I think it was last week we were discussing where Hyman Roth was born.
That's right, we were.
And so we'll answer. Hyman Roth, born unknown. The Godfather.
We asked, we answered.
What else you got?
Okay, well, I gotta.
No, it is unknown on the. It's not mentioned on because obviously, as we learned, he's not in the book or anything like that. So there's very little backstory about him. Meyer Lansky, whom Hyman Roth is based on, was born in Belarus.
Oh, okay.
Now in the news, so
you were right. Eastern Europe. You guessed Europe, last time.
Yeah,
makes sense.
In case you were curious, why do they think Meyer Lansky is Hyman Roth?
Why? What's
Meyer
the connection?
Lansky was famous for a quote talking about organized crime, and he said, "We're bigger than General Motors."
Did he really?
He did. He really said it. Yeah.
Oh man, that's great.
And Meyer Lansky's last name was Sukolansky.
Okay.
I'm sure I'm mauling the pronunciation there. Obviously, just shortened it to Lansky.
Lansky.
And later on in the movie, when or in the deleted scene where Vito says, "What's your name?" And he says his name is Hyman Sukowski.
Oh, okay.
So a shortened version of what Meyer Lansky's real name was.
Cool.
So he's generally considered.
He's definitely him.
Yeah. So anyway, minute 64. Now that we've settled Arnold Rothstein's hash.
Thanks for doing all that research.
Sure, like I said, it was fun.
To understand the historical context of it all.
So during this whole scene, I don't know if you noticed, Mikey is holding his trademark lighter.
I did not notice that.
Which, as we established last movie, is kind of the talisman of his superpowers. So he can kind of gives him his Dawn powers when he holds the lighter.
Yeah.
This is what he's going to need.
It's kind of like his little blankie.
Yeah.
It's his security lighter.
Well,
makes him feel rested and relaxed.
A little too relaxed.
And remember, that's what Mikey said to Hagen at some point. He says, I want him to feel completely relaxed.
That's true. Yeah, that's right.
That's why he has the lighter.
Do you think Mikey does better on defense? I feel like Mikey is in the game more when he is like having to fight for it. He's better as the underdog. Because if you like GF1, the Corleones were kind of the underdog.
Yeah.
The Corleones, they're being driven out of they don't got the kind of muscle anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when Mikey does his big moves. And here also Mikey is kind of playing weak and defensive. And that's when he's kind of like,
well, I mean, maybe in general that's a good position to be in, because you want your enemies to underestimate your strength.
Yeah.
And so that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. He definitely learned that in GF1.
So,
it's interesting. I love Hyman Roth's dialogue in this.
I basically wrote down every line.
Oh, good. I did too. Yeah, go for
it.
Okay. Go for it.
He talks about the
I heard you had a little trouble.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, after he finishes the baseball thing, I heard you had a little trouble.
There's a bit of pause after the World Series, and Hyman Roth's face starts to kind of shrivel up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Becomes a little somber. Mm-hmm. I heard you had a little trouble.
So, question.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Hyman Roth knows what happened.
Yes,
this was all orchestrated by Hyman Roth. The attack and everything. So.
I heard you had a little trouble. Not from me, but I heard it. Well, why are you looking at me like that, Michael? It wasn't me. He's the worst ever.
Well, because there's a pause before he brings it up.
Mm-hmm.
Is he thinking Mikey's going to bring it up? Or I can't believe he hasn't brought it up yet. I have to ask him. Like, is it driving Roth crazy that Mikey didn't come in being all like nervous and it almost seems like he's almost like saying, so anything exciting? Like he wants to hear what Mikey's reaction is.
Oh, you think he's kind of baiting him to get him to share what he's thinking?
Well, it seems almost like in a perfect. It seems like Hyman shouldn't have brought it up.
Should not have brought it up. Isn't that the reasonable thing to do, Mikey? They're all the heads of their family. Wouldn't it? It just seems natural to bring it up. What does that even mean? I don't even know. I mean, I can see what you're saying, that it is a good way for Roth to get Mikey to talk about it. So
and also, he says later on about. Like, this is the business they've chosen, and you didn't ask questions. Yeah. Seems like you wouldn't. It's not the kind of small talk you would bring up. Like, so I heard someone tried to kill you. You know what I mean?
If he doesn't say it, is that more evidence? Is that more or less evidence to Mikey that Hyman had something to do with it?
Well, we don't know if my theory is correct and that this is not something you would normally bring up or not. Yeah. So if it's not something you normally bring up, then that would seem to be evidence that he is behind it. Because why would you bring that up? Like when it's such a...
I don't know. You can go so many different layers, though. That's another way to throw him off.
Right. I like to imagine that Roth just can't even help himself. Like he so wants to find out. He can't even wait for Mikey to bring it up on his own. He has to kind of... It's almost like that pause. He's just like, why is he not going to bring... Why is he not mentioning it?
Yeah, that is great. That is great.
He's been in the room for 45 seconds, but in this kind of a situation.
I would have thought a different icebreaker would have been a segue into that would have been a little more appropriate.
I hear he's quite stupid. Can't handle anything.
I was going to say more like, why did you say no to the tuna sandwich, Michael? It was made him sound like
Johnny
Kit.
Tells me,
Michael, why did you say no to the sandwich? Johnny tells me you did.
Johnny told me on the way over you said you were quite hungry, and then you turned down the sandwich.
Yeah, Michael, nothing more important than good health. Fish. Antioxidants, Michael. Michael.
Like Tessio always used to tell me.
Alex, the paywall is the most important thing.
But what if people want to get beyond the paywall? What if they want to hear the rest of the content in the episode? We have a lot more Hyman Roth imitating. We rate the episode, and we get to hear you do a rap/poem.
That's right. I do a Hyman original poem in rap style.
Oh boy.
So go to godfatherminute.com/support. Check it out.
Do you think I like the song?
No.